Hey, what up? It's your boy Jolly here to talk about advanced factoring techniques. What I call this technique I'm about to teach you is called the smoke and mirrors technique. People always giggle at that name, probably because they don't realize it's a really old reference about stage magic, using smoke and mirrors to deceive people. But if any, like that's totally a jollyism, the smoke and mirrors thing. If you were talking to anybody else outside of my class, you would just call this an advanced factoring technique. Okay, so let's say you were trying to factor something like, for example, 6x squared minus 19x plus 10. Now, back when I was in high school in Algebra 2, our teacher would just say, just guess and check it. Just pop a couple parentheses in here, and then you know that these front two things here have to multiply to 6x squared, and the back two things here and here have to multiply to positive 10. So just think of some things that could work and check them. So for instance, 6x squared could be 6x times x, or it could be 2x times 3x. So let's try 3x and 2x. Now, things that multiply to 10 would be, 10 and 1, 2 and 5, all those. So let's try 1 and 10. So we'll do like a plus 1 and then a plus 10. Now, this could be the answer, but you would need to FOIL it to check it. So you first gives you 6x squared. Your outer gives you 30x. Your inner gives you 2x, and your last gives you 10. So then the middle two terms combine, and you get 6x squared plus 32x plus 10. And you're like, oh, that's not the same as the original problem. Like, if I found the answer, this would have to match this, and they don't. So I got it wrong. So then you would go back to the drawing board, throw out two parentheses, and find, just guess and check things. And this is what our teacher told us. Just guess and check until you find it. Sometimes you get lucky and find it fairly quick. Other times you try everything and you never get it. I mean, you get it eventually if you tried everything, if it's factorable. So guess and check is an option. And a lot of people try to fight me on this, and they're like, well, I'll just guess and check it. That's fine, but I don't think it's the best way to do it. So I'm going to show you guys the smoke and mirrors method, which works every single time. The reason it's called smoke and mirrors is there's one very magical part to it. So let's take that same problem, 6x squared minus 19x plus 10. Also, I really apologize for my handwriting. I wish this was a whiteboard. My board handwriting is way better. I'm getting used to the Apple Pencil and everything, and I'm trying, guys. Just give me a break. So, first step with smoke and mirrors is you take the front number 6 and the back number 10, and you multiply them to get 60. Then off to the side, you do a big cross. And then you take that number 60 and you pop it right up here. Then you take this middle number, negative 19, and you put it right here. Now, your job is to find two numbers that multiply to positive 60 and add to negative 19. So they have to multiply to the top and add to the bottom. Now, because there's negatives involved, I know that, because they multiply to a positive number and they add to a negative, that they both have to be negative. Now, this is the one drawback of the smoke and mirrors process, is that this part right here does involve some guess and check. So this is where you get out your TI, have it next to you, and be like, okay, 60 divided by 2. No, that's 2 and 30. Those don't add to negative 19. 60 divided by 4 is 15. Oh, 4 and 15 add to 19. So this is negative 4 and negative 15. Now, what you do with those numbers is you take this middle part here, negative 19x, and you break it apart into negative 4x and negative 15x. So you get 6 x squared minus 4x minus 15x plus 10. So here I'll highlight that negative 19, same color please, broke apart into these two things here. So the negative 19x is now negative 4x minus 15x. Now, you might look at that and be like, well, then you would want to combine like terms, and it's just going to, the negative 4x and negative 15x add to negative 19x, and boom, you're back to the beginning with the OG problem. You didn't do anything, Jolly. Well, first of all, calm down. What you're going to do is something I call double baby factoring. So if you take just the front two terms, 6x squared and negative 4x, and you baby factor them. Baby factoring is another jollyism. It basically means taking out the greatest common monomial from both of them. So when you look at 6 and 4, they both have a 2 in common, but they also have an x in common. So bring that 2x outside, and that leaves us with 3x minus 2 left over. So that's just the first two terms. Now let's put some dots underneath the back two terms. You're going to do the same process again with those two and figure out what you're going to baby factor, figure out what they have in common. The most that negative 15 and positive 10 have in common is a negative 5. So you pull that negative 5 out, and that leaves you with, 3x, not just x, jolly. 3x and then minus 2. So this is the back two terms baby factor. Now you might look at that and be like, whoa, look at the 3x minus 2 is in the first part. Oh, I'll use the highlighter. Sorry, different color, blue. The 3x minus 2 is in the first part and the back part. Oh my gosh. You guys, that is no accident. That should happen every single time that you're doing smoke and mirrors correctly. That's kind of the magical part of it, is that like if you follow these steps, that should always match up. So if you take that 3x minus 2 away from both of them, what you would have left over, let's use red, would be 2x and negative 5. So that's what goes in your second parentheses. And boom, it's factored. Now, if this were a test-taking situation, I would certainly do a quick FOIL to make sure that 3x minus 2 times 2x minus 5 gives me the OG problem back again. So if you first outer inner last this, 3x times 2x is 6x squared, put equal sign, and then 3x times negative 5 is negative 15x, and then negative 2 times negative, or positive 2x is negative 4x, and then negative 5 times negative 2 is positive 10. The two middle terms add together, and we get 6x squared minus 19x plus 10. It worked! Yay! So, that in a nutshell is the smoke and mirrors process. I'm going to do one more for you guys before I get out of here, and then I will, of course, put in a bunch of these problems in your homework, or whatever that looks like. Okay, fresh problem. Oh, also, if you need to see more of this, just like pause the video, obviously. Okay, let's do a doozy. Like 4x squared plus 17x minus 42. Now, remember, the smoke and mirrors process is you take the front term and the back term and you multiply them together. And then you do a little cross off to the side. So 4 times negative 42 is 168. Didn't even use a calculator. I just know that off tops. JK. And then the middle term, 17, goes down here. Oh, sorry, negative 168. Negative 42 and positive 4. Now I need to find two numbers that multiply to negative 168 and add to positive 17. I believe this is the part where you'd pull out your calculator once again and just try things. It's the guess and check part. So if you divide it by 4, divide it by 12, divide it by all these things, I think 7 comes out of it. Is that right? Let me pull a calculator out, actually. I'm doing it on my phone. 168 divided by 7 is 24. Yeah, that's it. So 24 times negative 7 is equal to negative 168, but adds to positive 17. So those are the two numbers that we need to break the middle term busted apart into. So middle term here, I'll highlight once again. Let's use different blue, is 17x. So when we rewrite the problem, it's going to become 4x squared plus 24x minus 7x minus 42. So the 17x got busted apart into this. Now we need to double baby factor. Oh, wait, hold on. A lot of people are like, Mr. Jolly, it doesn't matter which order you put those in, because some people put the negative 7x first and then the 24x afterwards. The answer is that it doesn't matter which order you put them in, but you can put them in an order that looks nice for you. Like, kind of look ahead at what the baby factoring you're going to be doing. And so I put the 24 with the 4 because it looks like those are going to factor nicely together, and I put the 7 with 42 just to make my life easy. So let's see. Front two have a 4x in common, x, and that leaves us with x plus 6. The back two have a negative 7 in common, x plus 6. OMG, the x plus 6's match. Once again, that should happen every single time. Pull the x plus 6 out, and that leaves us with 4x minus 7. Once again, if this were a test, I would certainly FOIL that to make sure it gets the original problem. But I think it does. It works out. All right, guys. Watch Canvas. Stay safe out there. Wash your hands.